Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the installment of Scott's Selections here for Thursday, March 18th. Before we get into today's play of the day, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We didn't pick up a loss with the Celtics -9 and -110 on FanDuel. One of the problems taking plays overnight is that occasionally the injury report comes back to bite you, and Kemba Walker did not play in this one. However, I really don't think it mattered. Boston just had a complete no-show following the loss to Utah. I thought that Cleveland was basically tanking, and Boston was down, I believe it was 18 at the half. Really embarrassing showing. Even worse showing considering the fact that it was on St. Patrick's Day. So shame to the Celtics, and I'll add them to my unofficial list of teams to never bet on for the rest of the season, joining the Chicago Bulls. But either way, I'll look for a bounce-back winner here on Thursday, and it is finally time to start the NCAA tournament. I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting, trying to perfect brackets, and you could still do that tomorrow, but the first four games do start tomorrow, and we're going to be looking at one of those games in particular, taking place at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be on a matchup between Wichita State and Drake. And for the play of the day, we're going to be taking Drake -1.5 and -110 on BetMGM, a time recording of 12:58 a.m. Eastern Time. A couple reasons why I like Drake. First of all, Drake this season was 25-4. Wichita State was 16-5. This line has completely flip-flopped, and the line has gone from Drake +2 to Drake -2. So there's been a complete avalanche of Drake money, and I simply think that people are starting to realize that Drake's just a much better team in the spot, especially since it should be at full strength for the first time in a couple of months. But looking at the efficiency numbers for both teams, Drake currently ranks 19th in offensive efficiency according to KenPom. Wichita State ranks 56th. And Drake also ranks 35th in rebounding rate, or Wichita State ranks 255th. So Drake should be able to showcase its very, very underrated offense in this matchup. And I do think that on the boards, Drake should generate a ton of second chance points while also trying to do a very solid job at limiting this pretty top-heavy Wichita State offense. But I'll get into that in a minute. The main story for Drake in this matchup is the fact that its best player, Shanquan Hemphill, who is averaging 14.1 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and shooting 58.7% from the floor. He has not played since February 10th because of an injury. He's finally back in the lineup for this one for Drake. Huge emotional lift for him, and it is worth mentioning that Drake, with him in the lineup this season, was 19-1 straight up. So this team, when he is in the lineup, is just a completely just a completely fantastic team. And you can probably make an argument that if Hemphill was healthy for the conference tournament, they maybe could have beaten Loyola. But 4 losses so far in the season anyway. 3 of them came without its best player, and 2 losses came to Loyola Chicago, who is also a tournament team. So there's no shame in that. But looking at Wichita State, this team got upset in its conference tournament against Cincinnati. Cincinnati was roughly a 500 team throughout the entire season, but Wichita was also a bit shorthanded. Really struggled, though. Barely beat South Florida, needed a furious comeback to win that one. South Florida's been awful all season long, and then ended up coming back to beat Cincinnati it ended up losing to Cincinnati the game after. But Wichita should be at mostly full strength here. The players who had to miss the tournament because of COVID are back. However, you do have to wonder with COVID if there are going to be any long-term side effects, maybe some fatigue. I don't know if they're going to play on a min restriction, but that is definitely a possibility. They still have another injury to a role player who might be out with an ankle injury. But either way, Wichita State, the issue I have with this team mostly is on the offensive end. This team only has 2 players averaging 10-plus points per game. Drake, on the other hand, has 5. So Wichita State really needs ETN to have a huge game, who is their star player, and they don't have many other guys who can step up and drain shots. Meanwhile, Drake just has so many weapons. They're so deep offensively, and I do think Wichita State's defense, which is pretty good, should struggle to try to deal with everybody. And I do think that Drake will do a pretty good job clamping down on ETN and forcing somebody else to beat them. But looking at some trends for this matchup, Drake is 4-0-1 ATS in its last 5 neutral site games as a favorite, and Wichita State is 1-4 ATS in its last 5 neutral site games. So at the end of the day, I'm going to back the line movement here. I think Drake is definitely the better team. Assuming that Hemphill looks anywhere near as good as he did before the injury that he suffered back in February, this Drake team is significantly better than the 11 seed that this team was granted. And I think Drake could potentially make some noise in the tournament, assuming that Hemphill is going to look as sharp as he did earlier in the season. Keep an eye on Drake as a potential sleeper in this tournament if they end up getting through this game. But for the sake of this matchup, Wichita State, I just am not a big fan of. It's a great story how they had an interim head coach, ended up being the regular season champions in the AAC. But they really struggled in the conference tournament, and I just think that Drake is the much better team. So the play of the day, once again, here for Thursday, March 18th, is going to be on Drake, -1.5 and -110 on BetMGM. That's been Scott's Selections. Go to all of you in respective bets today. Bye, everyone.